Cool, cool, cool. Looks good. So we may as well get started then. This could take a while. Hopefully not, but it could, so we'll get going now. Wormhole is kind of the most important part of this fight in terms of being what you need to learn and be able to execute consistently. It's placed about 9 minutes into the fight, I think, and there's a lot going on in it. Typically, if one person dies, you're going to wipe when you're progressing through it until you're super comfortable and can survive a 7 stack afterwards. As well as deaths in Wormhole mean that you're going to have weakness going into a burn phase. Ultimately, failing this mechanic means that you won't see the next phase. So execution is incredibly important here. There's so many moving parts that it becomes overwhelming at first glance, and without breaking it down, it's very, very difficult to get a grasp for exactly what is going on in this phase. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to break everything down for you. I'm going to start by playing through just a standalone clip of Wormhole itself. Then I'm going to go bit by bit and explain what's going on, and then I'm going to look at all the roles individually and show you the movements for all of them. And then I'm going to, obviously when this goes out, I'll put the triggers with it. But here it is. This is how it starts.
8. Brute Justice Side
And we'll go through it in real time first.
Rams,
and then we'll go back.
Look middle.
And that's ultimately the resolution of the mechanic. The next parts are just making sure that everyone survived realistically. So if I go back to the start of that, we'll go a little bit slower through it, and we'll look at exactly what's going on. First thing is, obviously, Alexander Prime channels Wormhole Formation and teleports away from the field. The next thing that happens is Brute Justice and Cruise Chaser will spawn northwest and northeast on the map. Alexander will spawn south. Unfortunately, the way that Brute Justice and Cruise Chaser spawn is random. So when you make a strategy, you want to make a strategy that can adapt to either iteration of those robot spawns. And at the end of the day, that's actually what our entire strat hinges around. And our set locations are all relative to where Brute Justice and Cruise Chaser spawn. So they come in. I think Cruise Chaser should just finish casting Limit Cut there. Let me go back 5 seconds and we'll see. Yes, so you can see Cruise Chaser's casting Limit Cut. Brute Justice has just landed, and he casts Link Up. We all know Link Up is what he does when the chakrams come out. Right, so as soon as that Link Up cast snapshots, chakrams that are going to spawn here and here, because they're always to the left and right of him, are going to spawn. We bait these in the middle of the arena to properly divide up the map and mean that everyone can get everywhere as soon as possible. I've seen a lot of people do the bait in front of Brute Justice, and while it can work, we were doing it for a while, and going to the middle really improved our consistency, because you didn't need guaranteed sprints. You had more time moving from the middle. It's just don't stand on the cardinal in your initial dodge and you're fine.
Brute Justice Side Cardinal, Dodge Chuck Rams.
So you'll see everyone's fanning out into their positions here. My call out was Brute Justice side. So when I say Brute Justice side, I mean the side that Brute Justice spawned on. So when you're looking at Brute Justice and Cruise Chaser, remember which side Cruise Chaser was on because he disappears. So your number will determine which side you're going to. If your trigger says to you go Brute Justice side, that means the side that Brute Justice is on, go to that side, and vice versa. These can be flipped, so don't always run to one side or the other. And the first thing to remember is that unless you are numbers 2 or 4, you're always running towards the robots first. You'll notice that at the start here,
8. Brute Justice.
Everyone except the people running directly opposite Brute Justice and Cruise Chaser ran more or less at them,
Dodge chuck rams.
right? And the reason for this is that the super jump is going to go out. And anyone running to the the south side of the room here can be cleaved by the super jump. And this is a really simple way to avoid that.
Second void, look middle.
Right, so I'm giving you the general rules to begin with, and then I'll look case by case specifics. Super jump has gone off, the first limit cut has gone off. There's the first dash. Sacraments started charging. First void puddle is about to resolve. That's the big purple on both sides is about to go off. Apocalyptic Ray is going. Second limit cut's going out. We do all the limit cuts going across the room. Third limit cut goes out. Second void puddle soak is about to go off at the same time. And then fourth limit cut and third void puddle is about to go off at the same time.
7, 8.
3.
Right, so a lot of things went on just there. And there's a lot of nuance in the movements of all of the rolls to make that look as clean as it just did. It's, like I said, a very, very complex mechanic in terms of the number of moving parts and timings. But with our strategy, literally all you need to worry about is exactly your roll, right? You'll get a number, your ACT will call it out, and you just execute what you hear. You know to go to a specific spot to start with, soak a certain puddle or bait a certain mechanic, and then go to a certain spot afterwards. As long as other people do their job as well, everything is fine. You don't need to worry about relative positioning to anyone else, just do things relative to the map and you'll be fine. So, I talked at the start about how the spawn points of Brute Justice and Cruise Chaser are random. And unfortunately that's not the only part of random spawns in this phase, which can also complicate things a little bit as well, but there's an easy enough way to remember what to do for every roll based on the void puddle spawns as well. So you'll see the way that they spawn in a second here can also be inverted, and I have a diagram to help explain this.
Cardinal, dodge chuck rams, second void.
Right, so you'll see here that the void spawned in this way, right? And Brute Justice Cruise Chaser spawned this way. No. This way. So this is more or less the layout that we just had. The void puddles spawning northwest, southeast. Brute Justice northwest, Cruise Chaser northeast. Okay, so in this specific example, I'm going to go down the list and actually, I think that the better way to do this is to actually show you all the rolls first, and then relate it to the diagrams. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so this is the layout we have right here. So, Brute Justice northwest, Cruise Chaser northeast, Puddles northwest, southeast. Let's see how it plays out. My clips aren't all specific to this exact layout, but I'll explain to you why that isn't too important. You just need to remember one of two things. So first we have number 1. And you'll learn pretty quickly that 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the easiest rolls. It's when you get up to numbers like 5, 6, 7, 8 that you start having more complexity in the movement that you have to do. But ultimately it's fairly simple, it's just a lot of stuff that you have to remember.
1. Cruise Chaser, third void, look outside.
Right. 1 goes to Cruise Chaser. 1 is soaking the third void puddle along with number 2. And because 1 is an odd number, they're looking outside because they're baiting a slash. Right, you know that the limit cut has 2 parts, a slash and a dash. The slash is a knockback that spawns behind you. And there it is. So the 1 movement is essentially broken down to run to Cruise Chaser, where he originated before he disappeared, stand there looking outside, and then soak the cleave, and then get yourself into position to soak the void puddle third. every single roll, or every single number, has a specific timing for arm's length or shortcast to press in this phase. And I'll go through them all with you in a case-by-case basis. So because you're baiting the slash, which is the one that'll knock you back, using shortcast in this strategy is essential, or else you'll cleave people that are trying to do the dodges. So the timing for using your shortcast here is probably the hardest on number 1. The only sort of indicator you have is that you want to do it before the Eye of the Chakram cast bar finishes, but you can typically press shortcast or arm's length as soon as you get to the wall when you're dodging from the center to avoid the chakrams. Alright, there goes my shortcast when I get to the wall. That means that I won't get knocked into the wall. Spawns behind me, dashes away, and I get ready to soak the void puddle. Ultimately, fairly straightforward. In this iteration, you'll notice that the void puddle is far away from me at 1, so I'll bring up the diagram again. What the heck? This one. So yeah, this is this iteration right here. I was 1, so I baited Cruise Chaser just here. Let's use a pencil. So my movement is go to 1, bait it pointing out, then I move down to this cardinal, because this cardinal is our designated safe spot, and then I waited until I was soaking the 3rd puddle. You can't really see it because it's blending in with other colors, but you get the gist. That's the movement. The other iteration, if I undo these, would be if the puddles were like this, and this is even easier. And you'll see how this actually plays out when you see number 2 in a second. But essentially you're doing the same movement where you run out to Cruise Chaser and you bait your cleave pointing out, the same shortcast timing or arm's length timing, and then you get to just wait on this red dot. You don't need to run down to the cardinal to get there for soaking your puddle. You can just stand right here the whole time. And that movement will be demonstrated through number 2. Right, and number 2 shares the same arm's length shortcast timing as number 1. You don't need to use arm's length or shortcast on even numbers. And that's because it doesn't knock you back if you're looking at it. So if you face the middle, because all of the cleaves and dashes that we do are going to be across the middle of the room, even numbers should never get knocked back. What I know some of our team likes to do, and this may help some people who have trouble remembering inside or outside, is some people will always face outside and always use shortcast or arm's length, no matter what number they get. That way, even if they're facing the wrong way and they get dashed, they won't get knocked back, but they'll always be facing outside in case they forget that they have a slash, and that obviously makes it a bit easier for them. Right, so number 2's job, you can see number 1 is opposite him, took the first slash, and then the dash goes across the room. And this is the movement that I was talking about before if the puddle is really close to you. You get to sit there, wait until it goes off, move up a touch. You only need to be on the west or east side of this button right here. This is all safe from the sacrament. Even though it doesn't look like it, just be slightly above this, and you're fine. And that's it. You can just AFK there until the 3rd one is ready to be soaked. 1, 2, 3, and 4 all have a very easy job.
3.
And we're wiping them because people died. But I executed the movement correctly, so that should all be, self-explanatory enough for you. Okay. So, let's, relate that back to the diagram, because it's always very helpful. What have I done? This one. Let's undo. In this case, we had number 2, and the puddles were spawned like this. So that means 1 was here, 2 is down here. First cleave goes out this way. First dash comes down this way, all the way across the map through 2. There'll be no one there. As soon as you take the dash, you wait, you dodge the sacrament, this big blue line, and then you just wait there until you can soak the puddle. If the puddle is not on you, for example like this, you do the exact same movement that we saw in the one clip. So you're always doing the movement towards the puddle, or you're standing still. It's exactly the same thing. The only difference in the movement is the timing of your slash and dash, or you're facing inside outside. So I'll show you again just so you can recognize what you're supposed to be doing there. This is essentially the same movement that the other clip will be doing if the puddles were inverted. Right? Run to the cardinal after doing your limit cut, and then wait there. So one of number 1 and 2 will be having to move to the east or west marker. One of 1 or 2 will not have to move and can just sit there to soak their puddle. Hopefully that made sense. There's a lot of information there, but it's fairly simple. All you need to know is that you're either moving or you're not, and you're either at cruise chaser or you're opposite cruise chaser. 1 and 2, very simple. But obviously everyone has a responsibility in this. So let's move on to number 3. And number 3, Shin's POV. Number 3's responsibility is to go to brute justice. And the reason for this is the super jump functions, as we know from the second phase with brute justice and cruise chaser, that it targets the furthest person away to super jump on them, and then it re-snapshots and targets the furthest person away again with the apocalyptic ray. And by baiting it this way, we leave ourselves safe spots in the puddles, and we leave ourselves safe spots to do the limit cuts for the other people in the team, the numbers 5, 6, 7, and 8. So as number 3, you're running 2 brute justice. You're facing outside because you're an odd number, so you're going to be slashing outside of the arena. If you face inside, you're going to kill everyone because that slash is enormous. And like I said, for every single roll, you'll have a specific shortcast or arm's length timing, and your tell for this one is as soon as brute justice uses super jump. As soon as he jumps over your head, get ready to press your arm's length or shortcast. And you'll see it go off here. There it is, arm's length. Apocalyptic ray was baited. Slash and dash executed correctly. Now, Shin can AFK right here the whole time. Numbers 4 and 3 don't actually need to soak any void puddles, so they can just AFK on their red button once they're done. As long as they're safe from the sacrament, everything's fine. He does move, he doesn't need to, but it just goes to show that there's like wiggle room within the strata itself. But I think the number 4 we show in a second shows someone just standing there, which is pretty cool. Alright, so I'll show you that again. Run to brute justice, bait your cleave outside. Your timer for using, or your tell for using shortcaster arm's length is him jumping. Bait the apocalyptic ray, slash dash, job complete. That's your entire responsibility for the phase. 3 and 4 are by far the easiest. As Zeno says, the easy one. Right. It all went to shit after that, but what matters is that you saw the number being executed correctly. And like 1 and 2, numbers 3 and 4 are also paired up in that they have very similar responsibilities. The only difference is number 4 is going opposite brute justice. So what you do is, at the start of the phase, you're looking at brute justice and cruise chaser, you hear the number 4 call out, and you book it opposite brute justice. Right? So these are a pair, again.
4. Opposite brute justice.
Right, this is number 4, so it's a facing the middle if you don't want to use your shortcaster arm's length here. But you got to remember that you're baiting the brute justice super jump. And we know that how that functions is it targets the furthest person away, then turns around and cleaves across the room, so you want to leave yourself a little bit of wiggle room to move behind it after it gets ready to apocalyptic ray. And the way to do that is to bait the super jump at the front of this red button. This is why it's very important for all these people to also be moving down this way, because if you were standing a little bit too far in and someone was standing out here, they could potentially bait the super jump as well. And if they were standing up here and you got it anyway, they'd get hit by the big cleave that happens on super jump and they would die by being knocked into the wall. So leave yourself a little bit of room. and then move back to the wall afterwards. And you'll see it here. See, he leaves himself room, jump goes out. That's your tell to press Shortcaster arm's length if you're going to do the facing outside all the time.
Go in diagonal.
Then move behind him by moving to the wall. Like I said, all you need to do is make sure that you're slightly above that red button, and you'll avoid the sacrament. The blasty charge has gone off. That's it. Job complete. 3 and 4 are very easy.
7, 8, mid.
8. So you're starting to see sort of how this pattern works, right? Everyone has a very, very specific role. They go to very set locations and they execute their limit cut, slash and dash. And then they do either something or nothing else. The something being probably a void puddle or a bait of brute justice, or they just AFK. Very simple. So now let's put that on the diagram, or relate it to the diagram. So let me just undo all these. Okay, so in this case, this is the layout that we just saw. Brute Justice was northwest, the puddles were spawned northwest, southeast. So you'd have 3 at Brute Justice would be standing on this red button, and 4 would be down here at opposite Brute Justice standing on this red button. The Brute Justice jumps over here, you bait him to the front of the button, he turns and cleaves this way in a big ass cone like this. It's probably bigger, it goes really far. And then you move slightly behind him, dodge the sacrament, chill out. Job done. Number 3, you stand at Brute Justice, you bait your slash and dash facing outside, and you stand there and bait the Apocalyptic Ray, so that you're the furthest target from Brute Justice. After you've baited it, you can AFK until the end of the mechanic. 3 and 4 are very simple. There are clips of people failing them, and they know how goofy it is to mess this one up. Okay, so we've gone through 1, 2, 3, and 4, and as I said, they are the easier ones. It gets harder as we get through the mechanic, but the amount of responsibility added in each layer is virtually the same. I'll show you what happens if you have the inverse, right? Again, it's very easy. 3 and 4 are in the same positions, except this time they don't need to worry about the void puddles being anywhere close. They just sit there and chill out. This person doesn't need to worry about potentially walking into the void puddle to begin with, and this person is just miles away from anything dangerous. This is probably the safer option for 3 and 4, but at the end of the day, they're never in risk of dying if they just move correctly, as was shown in the videos. And I will link all of these videos, probably in the description of the YouTube video that I'll do after this. Okay, 3 and 4 are done. So let me quickly clear this. Oh, what have I done? Okay. On to number 5, where things start getting tricky. Is it this one? Yeah. Right, and number 5 is where you start doing the initial 2 void puddles. And this one probably took us the longest to, well, not this one, but these 4 numbers, 5, 6, 7, and 8, took us the longest to really sort out a movement that was really consistent and safe for everyone involved. There's a lot of sort of congestion around the area, so avoiding that is super important, and making sure that traffic is controlled very, very well is essential to getting through this deathless. Because like I said earlier, it virtually has to be deathless. Alright, so we're going to have number 5 here. And we'll see from number 5 that, again, like 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's based, your starting position is based on Cruise Chaser or Brute Justice, right? So the odd numbers, 5 and 7, are always going to be going Cruise Chaser side. So when you hear 5, you remember where Cruise Chaser was, and you start heading towards where he was. You know that 1 is going to be at Cruise Chaser. You know that a chakram is going to be going through C. So your safe spot is right here. This is where you should be standing.
Side void.
At the start of this phase.
Look outside.
Right, this means that you're safe from the 1 slash that's going out of the room. you're safe from the chakram, and you're ready to soak the void afterwards. Okay, this is a part that took us a few pulls to figure out. When you soak the first puddle, because that's your first responsibility, you want to do it as close to the cardinal as possible. You want to be east-west. So to give you a diagram example, as number 5, you want to be soaking here. God, I wish this would show up. Let me try and use a different color. If I can find it. Colors, colors, colors. Whatever. I can't find the color menu. I only just started using this program today. Please put me onto it. It is incredible. Click on Sacrament. Ah, I see. That's cool. Right. So, as number 5, you would want to start here. You're dodging towards Cruise Chaser into the safe spot. And then you're going to eat the Void of Repentance on the Cardinal. Okay, that's step 1 of your movement. Dodge chakrams, and then soak the Void of Repentance. So in this situation where we have the opposite puddles, you're still doing this movement. You're not going into the puddle, because remember you need to not get hit by the super jump. You're always going here first. And our call for that was robot side. So when you're looking at the robots at the north of the map, you're always moving robot side first. Very important rule. That makes sure that super jump mistakes don't happen, which is very, very important. And the same again. You'll then dodge the chakrams, move to bait the puddle at the cardinal. And then there's a second step to this movement, and I'll show that in just 1 second. Here. Now, you soak your puddle, and the tell for pressing your shortcast is as soon as you soak that puddle, right? You get the quick short vuln. That's your tell for this position for when to press shortcast, or arm's length. And then you move across the cardinal. Right? And that's very, very, very important, because across the cardinal you'll be creating a safe zone to do your slash and dash. Like I said, number 5 is probably the hardest one. As soon as you've resolved your slash and dash, you move back to the cardinal, the safe zone. So let's go back to the diagram and walk through that. So you've dodged the chakrams, you've moved in to soak the Void of Repentance. As soon as you've soaked the Void of Repentance, you're moving back to the slash and dash zone, which is between northeast and east in this example, right? So your cleave will be pointed out here. As soon as your cleave resolves, you're going and idling on the dot. This circle here is your safe zone. If you're standing here and you don't have a mechanic, you can't get hit by anything. That was very important in the way that we designed this and structured this, so that people had an idle spot. Okay, so we'll go through that again, because that was a really, really complex mechanic. There's a lot of movement going on for number 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, so this will take a little bit longer, but ultimately it's fairly simple, and they all follow the same sort of rules. Oh no, what have I done? Here we go, Wormhole Formation. Right, so number 5. We need to remember which side Cruise Chaser's on, because he's about to teleport away, and we get ready to move towards him to dodge the chakrams and the super jump.
8. Root Justice side card.
That was 8! That's the wrong tab, that's why. This one was the wrong video. Remember everything that I just said, but apply it to this one. Right, remember where Cruise Chaser was. Move towards him to dodge the chakrams, but not on the button, because that's where one is going to be doing his stuff. So you're going to be going right here.
5. Cruise Chaser side void. First void. Look outside.
Hear that? Cruise chaser side void, first void, look outside. And the movement is dodge chakrams, soak the puddle on the cardinal, cross over the cardinal every single time, do your slash, move back to the cardinal. Number 5 resolved. It's complex, there's a lot going on, but it works. Okay, let me just clean this up before we go into 6. So, hopefully the clip I have for 6 will illustrate what I want to show here. We'll take a look at 6 first before I go into that. Oh, it's loud.
6. Brute Justice side void.
Right.
First void.
So it's essentially the complete opposite. You're soaking the first void, but you're going to the other side of the arena, right? You're going Brute Justice side first. You're looking inside or out if you want to always use Shortcast. You're dodging chakrams first by moving robot side. Remember, as I said, you're always dodging chakrams first towards the north to not interrupt and interfere with the super jump. And then you're going to go to the cardinal, because that's the safe spot.
Look middle.
Yes, this will actually show you the opposite, right? So in number 5, you dodged, and then the void would have been over here in that example. In this case, it's right where you just dodged to. Is that right? Yes. So you idle on the cardinal, you soak your void on the cardinal, and then you cross over the cardinal into the safe spot. Right, and I'll draw this up on the diagram to make it very clear, because it's quite difficult as a concept to explain. And then you do your slash and dash in the safe spot, return to your east-west cardinal, and that's where you'll be safe. Right, so it's just the opposite of what number 5 did. 5 and 6 have the same job, essentially just doing the dash or the slash, and the way that their puddles are oriented will be opposite. So in this case, this is how it was again, right? So number 5 was over here, and then came here, soaked the puddle, and then they went back here to do the slash, and they went back here to idle. In this case, number 6 dodges here to avoid the chakrams. They move here to soak the puddle, but instead of running back to the north, like I said, you cross over the cardinal, away from the void. So then you go into your slash and dash here in the empty space. Alright, so from the void, cross the cardinal. And it really helps if you put markers on the east and west here. So that way you know I'm always running past a marker as 5, 6, 7, 8 to do my slash and dash. You come over to the dedicated zone for resolving limit cut. You get charged at from over here. As soon as it's resolved, you move back to the button and you're safe. Okay, so let's go through that one more time. We'll look at the video. Not this one, this one. So we're at the wall. You soak the puddle on the cardinal, cross the cardinal from the void. As soon as the void goes off, that's your Surecast timing. Soak your limit cut, return to the cardinal, resolved. Hopefully you're keeping up with me here. These ones do get quite complex. Excuse me one second. Okay, so now let's imagine then that the voids are reversed, okay? What 5 and 6 do for their movement then will just be flipped. So 5 will be going here, which is essentially the same movement as 6 had, right? Where you go here to soak the void, cross the cardinal from the void, do your slash and dash, which will be out here, and then move back to the button to be safe. So that's the movement. 1, 2, 3, slash 4. Number 6 will be here, doing exactly the movement that 5 did in the video. They'll move to the cardinal to soak the Void of Repentance. They will cross the cardinal from the void, so they'll be moving back up to the safe zone to soak the dash, and they will return to the button to be safe. 5 and 6 are probably the hardest ones. 7 and 8 I think are slightly easier. So if you kept up with all of that, you should be absolutely fine for 7 and 8. Okay, good. If people are lost, please let me know so I can try and explain it another way. Right, on to number 7. And now number 7 follows a lot of the same rules that 5 and 6 did.
7.
Right?
Cruise chaser
Oh.
side cardinal.
So because it's an even number, sorry, it's an odd number, you go cruise chaser side, so remember where cruise chaser spawned. You dodge in the same way that 5 and 6 did, right? So you're dodging robot side. So you're running towards the robots, between the cardinal and its cardinal, and then you're going to go to the cardinal as the safe spot. Will this be uploaded to YouTube? Yes, it will.
Dodge chakrams. Second void. Look
Right,
inside.
so you're doing the exact same dodge of the chakrams, and then you're waiting on the cardinal, right? Because 5 and 6 are going to do their Void of Repentance first. Five and 6 soak their voids, you get ready to soak yours. And then again, same rule as 5 and 6. You cross the cardinal away from the void to do your limit cut slash and dash. The only difference now is that you have a small delay where you have to wait for 5 and 6 to do their limit cut. Right, make sure you don't get slash and dashed. Result, go to the middle. Okay, so it's all the same movement, it's just in a little bit slightly different order. You're going to the cardinal first and waiting a little bit longer, then you're going out afterwards to do your slash and dash. So I'll show you 8, and then I'll draw those two movements up, so that hopefully it helps explain a little better.
Wormhole.
8. Brute justice side cardinal. Dodge chakrams. Second void. Look middle.
Right, so you heard all of that. Brute Justice side cardinal, that's where you're going to be idling. You're going to dodge chakrams first, and the same way we always do that for every other position is that you move robot side as 5, 6, 7, 8. As soon as the chakrams resolve, wait on the cardinal. You are soaking the second void, just like the little voice in your ear is going to tell you to do. You're going to soak the void. You're waiting for this charge to hit Ara, right? This is the dedicated danger zone, so you wait for it to clear up. If you are looking outside for every mechanic and you're going to arm's length everything, soaking the Void of Repentance is your cue to press your arm's length or shortcast. Move to the dedicated soak zone.
7, 8, middle.
Move to the middle. 8 resolved. Okay, so let's go back to the literal drawing board. And in this case, we have 7 first. So 7 starts here, 8 starts here, after moving out from the center. Right, 8 goes Brute Justice side, 7 goes Cruise Chaser side. As soon as the chakrams resolve, they go and idle off of the void in the button on the cardinal. Right, they're waiting for their turn to soak the second void. Right. First one resolves, they move in to soak the second void. Don't move too far in or else you die to the apocalyptic ray. But once you've soaked the second void, that is your Q to arm's length or shore cast, and then same as 5 and 6, you move across the cardinal away from the Void of Repentance to do your limit cut. But the only little nuance with this is that you have to wait for 5 and 6's limit cut to resolve first. So there may be a little delay, and then you move across the cardinal away from the void to do your limit cut. 8 will be facing the middle, 7 will move out here and face outside. As soon as that's resolved, get to the middle, everyone. Pile into the middle, because you've got a big stack damage coming up. Hopefully everyone stayed caught up with that, because there is a lot going on in what we just did. So now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you the full clip again, just from the kill video. And hopefully everyone can keep up this time and they'll recognize what's going on here. Because I think from my POV you can see a lot.
Decide cardinal, dodge chakrams, second void, look middle.
Nope, my POV you can't see shit. Here you go, you can see it now. Alright, so you're always using that same spot for 5, 6, 7, 8 slash and dash. Very controlled, very safe, nice and easy. And that's it. That's Wormhole. Hopefully I haven't missed anything. If I have, please let me know. Am I going to include my triggers in the YouTube? Yes, I will. So all of our triggers are done through trigonometry, and I will just I'll export just a dump file of all of them. They are super helpful for learning. Obviously, you could what we were doing initially is just I had a little notepad next to me, and I'll just read the number off every time. But as is true to the team name, I want to lower those thoughts per second, and I'd rather just use my ears instead of having to look at a different monitor. It's that simple.